It's always fun to watch these award shows, but do you ever wonder how much pressure it is to look good on the red carpet? And these days, looking good often means being thin. You may not be walking the red carpet. You could be walking to school, walking into the office, or walking into a store. And you've probably felt that pressure too. I know I have. I battled an eating disorder all through college until I was in my mid-20s. And I guess it's not surprising that the average age for the onset of an eating disorder is between 18 and 21. But did you know that girls as young as 5 now start to worry about their weight? As a result of my personal experience, I've always been interested in how we beat ourselves up about our bodies. And I was so impressed at how a 20-year-old star like Demi Lovato has dealt with her struggles so openly and honestly. I'm going to head into the studio to talk with Demi about that. But first, here's a look at her story. Just 20 years old, X Factor judge Demi Lovato is truly a comeback kid with her hit album and her new gig.
I'm going to say yes.
But getting here wasn't easy. Demi's career started when she was just 7 as a pal of a purple dinosaur named Barney. She went on to become a Disney teen queen in the movie Camp Rock and in her own Disney series, Sunny with a Chance. But beneath the squeaky clean image, she was imploding, battling anorexia, bulimia, and self-mutilation. At 18, the pressure was clearly taking a toll.
I was performing concerts on an empty stomach. I was losing my voice from purging.
She's now become a voice for a generation of girls struggling with eating disorders and body image.
Nice to meet you.
Teaching her fans to embrace and celebrate who they are, just as Demi Lovato is learning to do. Please welcome Demi Lovato. Great to see you.
Great to see you too.
I love the teal tips.
Oh, thank you.
That looks so pretty.
Thanks.
So, first of all, how are you?
I'm really good. I'm awesome, and thank you so much for having me.
Well, I'm thrilled that you're here. And, you know, I've admired so much, Demi, the fact that you've been so open and honest with your fans. And I think you've given them a lot of leadership and understanding of some of the issues that they're privately struggling with and don't want to talk about.
Thank you.
When did you start to feel uncomfortable with your body and start to have body image issues?
When I started to have body image issues, I remember being 3 years old in a diaper and rubbing my hand over my stomach and just feeling like, I remember thinking in my head, I wonder if one day this will ever be flat. And
at 3 years old?
At 3. And it just continued. I always had self-confidence issues in my body and self-image problems. And I mean, it also didn't help that I had kids at school at such a young age that were really, really naturally thin. So I always felt like I was the bigger one of the group.
And you, I know, initially started dealing with this by overeating. I read that you would eat, you know, make a pan of cookies and eat the entire tray.
Yeah.
And then you started doing more. You started starving yourself and binging and purging, so anorexia and bulimia. Did something specifically trigger those more serious behaviors in you, or when did that start?
You know, it started when I was around 8 years old that I really started what we call it is binging, binge eating. I think that any eating disorder, some people, I believe, people have their different opinions on it, but I believe that I was born with it and that it was just going to be there. You know, it runs in my my family, and it just is, it's just there. And I think that when you go through things that are traumatic that happen to you when you're little or at any time in your life, it can bring out the nasty behaviors that rise to the surface when you don't know how to stay in control or feel your emotions.
So certain things trigger it or set it off, even though you might kind of have it internally anyway, in your view.
Yes, I believe so. I feel like especially certain events in your life, or even just the way that your family dynamic is, it can definitely trigger your behaviors and your patterns.
I know that girls would call you fat when you were just 12 years old, which was very hard. Here you were, this very successful young actress, and you were being kind of teased and berated at school, which was difficult for you, I know, and quite traumatic.
Yes, I also like to raise the awareness about bullying because people, I think, don't realize how badly that verbal harassment and cyberbullying affects you. It played more of a toll on me than if I was physically abused in school. I kind of always said I wish that they had just hit me in the face and gotten it over with. Because what they said to me sticks to me to this day. It affected me into the person that I am today. I was bullied, and they called me fat, and they called me horrible things. And the only way to get through it all was I left school and I started homeschooling. And I called my mom in a bathroom, like crying, and was like, "You have to pick me up. Like, I have to get out of here. I can't take it anymore."
What was it like for you to not eat or to overeat and purge? How did it make you feel? Was this a control thing?
Yes, I think that it was definitely a control thing. And some people just don't want to feel the emotions that they have. I think a lot of it is like me just numbing myself out, so I didn't have to deal with certain problems or trauma or anything. I think that I just didn't want to feel, and that's pretty much what it was for me. I think also too is you get a physical high. Your body actually releases endorphins when you purge. So some people get addicted to the physical feeling of it.
And you were doing it as many as 6 times a day?
At one point, yes. I would throw up because I thought one glass of juice was gonna make me gain 5 pounds.
So you had become very, very obsessive. Then other days you just wouldn't eat at all.
Yes. There was a week, too, where I think I ate 2 meals in 1 week.
How much did being in the entertainment business play a role in the pressure you felt to look a certain way?
Obviously I felt like I had these issues way before I became in the spotlight. But I think that it definitely amplified things because your life is under a microscope. I was listening to commenters on blog sites that were saying, "Oh, she looks fat in this outfit," or whatever, and I put that pressure on myself.
Well, I can't imagine what that's like, being criticized all the time for everything. Oh, I do. But so much so, especially at such a young age, before you even have an understanding of your self-worth and that it's a lot more than just your external packaging, right?
Or even your body. I mean, I was going through puberty. My body was changing, and I didn't like the fact that I was gaining weight, and what are curves? I don't understand. It's difficult for young girls with eating disorders around that time because their body's changing into a woman, basically.
Yeah. When we come back, we're going to talk about what Demi went through in treatment, and later, what triggers an eating disorder. We're going to take a look at the science behind this disease. We're back with Demi Lovato. Of course, realizing you need help is the first step to getting treatment.
Yes.
I know that there was an incident that made everyone around you say, enough is enough. I mean, you were kind of spiraling out of control, weren't you?
Absolutely.
Tell me what happened.
What happened was, I made a huge mistake, and I ended up hitting one of my friends.
Who was a backup dancer,
Who was
right?
a backup dancer, yeah. And I felt horrible. I wasn't really in control of my emotions at the time. I was just out of control. And there's no excuse for it. But, it definitely showed everyone that I needed to get help. And I think 2 days later, I was checking into rehab.
You went to an inpatient facility in Illinois, and it was very strict. I know that you weren't allowed to go to the bathroom by yourself. You couldn't have razors there at all. I mean, it was very,
pretty fuzzy legs walking around there.
But tell me about what that treatment was like and what it did for you.
Treatment was so difficult at first. I remember walking around saying, "I'm in prison," and they needed to have those strict rules in order for me to understand how sick I was. I wasn't allowed to use the bathroom by myself. We had specific phone times. There are tons of things, you know, you're not allowed to have certain hair products or whatever that you could injure yourself with or possibly drink. And you were stripped of a lot of things. I also had somebody watching over me every single time I ate. And if I didn't finish what was on my plate, and oftentimes I would cry because I physically couldn't stomach it. And if that happened, I would have to, you know, have little consequences, nothing horrible, just like not being able to go to the cafeteria to eat.
But what did you learn about yourself, Demi, that pulled you out of this terrible situation, this self-loathing, this punishing of your body that you had been a part of for so many years? I mean, something must have clicked.
What I think clicked is it didn't even happen necessarily when I went to treatment. I still dealt with severe body image issues throughout the past 2 years, and I think it recently clicked. I've been getting used to the changes in my body. When I got out of treatment, I gained about like 30 pounds, and my weight just fluctuated a lot. I was trying to find out what its natural weight was, and I had a really hard time dealing with it. But, you know, I think that I've gotten to a comfortable place now. Obviously, I'm still going to deal with it for the rest of my life, but I'm at a good place right now.
I like that you say you're a curvy girl, and you really have embraced that and kind of become comfortable with your body type, which isn't, you know, tall and lithe, you know, and you're fine with it.
Absolutely.
And you're a beautiful young woman.
Thank you.
Really.
Thank you. I think the only way to really accept yourself is to say, you know what, God, I'm giving it to you, or, you know, whatever you feel like gives you that power. But it's just surrendering and saying, I can't do this to my body anymore. I'm going to let my body be what it is naturally supposed to be.
And to focus on health instead of thinness, right?
Yeah, definitely.
I know Mike Baer is an internationally known crisis and recovery advisor. He's also Demi's recovery manager. Mike, how difficult is it to get over an eating disorder like this?
I think it's very challenging unless the whole family is really willing to participate in their daughter or their son's eating disorder. So I think that I've worked with a lot of women who have gotten over it. It's a very tough thing, but if they get the right help, they can have a better life and not live in the obsession of, you know, self-hatred or self-harm or whatever those are, as you see with Demi.
Did your family get involved? Your mom, was she supportive? The people around you supportive as well?
Absolutely. You know, I was saying earlier, it's not just a disease that one person of your family member suffers with. It affects your whole family. So really, it's a family disease. And it has to be fixed with therapy sessions, and so they know how to handle it and what to say and what not to say, and just be there for me.
Mike, you know, for parents out there, they may wonder, well, how can we create an environment where we can develop a healthy relationship with food, not only for ourselves, but for our kids?
Right.
What would you recommend families do?
I think it's important for families to get together as a family and treat everyone with respect, have healthy food in the house, everyone getting together and having open dialogue. I think it's important that parents don't criticize their daughters about what they eat or what they don't eat. And, you know, that's one thing in a household that may be really controlling or out of control is they don't have the choice of even what they get to eat. And I think, as you know, being in the media and coming back to your home environment, you want to come into an environment that's really healthy and happy and everyone's welcoming. And the last thing you want is for someone to say, Katie, why are you eating the spaghetti? You know, that just doesn't feel good. I mean, that's not enjoyable.
I usually say to myself, but that's a whole nother show. Anyway, all right, Mike, thank you. Later on, we're going to talk about how a mother's unhealthy relationship with food can have a negative effect on her daughter's body image. But coming up next, women in their 40s, 50s, and 60s developing eating disorders. Why this dangerous trend? We'll tell you when we come back.